What's up, y'all? A conversation around race has spawned from this season of Love Island, specifically regarding the treatment of Shelly and Ace by Huda fans. This, of course, is not uncommon as it is known that Love Island is a microcosm of society. Oftentimes, the issues that surface between castmates are quite familiar to us. Add to that the fact that we become invested in these characters as we begin to identify with them. That's what brings us together, and the community and the conversations that result could be powerful tools for social progress, or they could devolve into something sinister and actually work against us if we fail to self-evaluate. What we are seeing in America's votes, both in politics and on Love Island, is that jealousy will forever be our weakest link. This, of course, crosses racial lines, but for the purposes of this Love Island focused conversation, we're going to talk about race. If that conversation makes you uncomfortable, I encourage you to stick around because you do your most growing outside of your comfort zone.
Told her good luck with your bullshit. I told her good luck with your bullshit. Boy, I'm anointed by Jesus. Swear I should be in the pulpit. Told her good luck with your bullshit. I told her good luck with your bullshit. I'm only attracted to keepers.
Black people are saying that the racism towards Shelly and Ace since the fallout of the heart rate challenge is disgusting. And I agree. Racism is always disgusting. But another thing racism is sneaky. Racism is alive. It is a living thing. It is a vine, in fact. And just like all vines, it starts with a seed. Once the seed is planted, it still has to be nourished. And this villa with this cast was the perfect environment. And see, before you can ask how people can be okay with all this undeserved vitriol and hate being directed at Shelly and Ace, a lot of you have to first ask yourself why you were okay with the undeserved vitriol, hate, and jealousy being directed at Jeremiah. Let's do an exercise. Imagine with me that Jeremiah is Nick and Nick is Jeremiah. Everything else is the same, just switch the physical. How would it have been perceived for Ace, Taylor, and Jeremiah to gossip about, target, and backstab Nick? How would it have been perceived for them to attempt to paint Nick as a love bomber as we're watching Huda verbally abuse Nick, attempt to control Nick, and emotionally manipulate Nick? What if America recoupled Nick with Iris, and then we get all these scenes of Huda berating Nick and calling him a pussy-ass bitch? I know it's hard to imagine because Huda never came close to disrespecting Nick despite the fact that he stabbed her in the back multiple times. For some reason, she can't bring herself to challenge this white man. Weird. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? Anyway, imagine she was doing all this to him. Do you see production or the castmates supporting her in this event? Do you see them working to keep her safe? Do you think the optics of her being literally abusive to this adorable white boy with curly hair will be rewarded? When Shelly, Olandria, Taylor, and Ace stood behind Huda at this recoupling, they all chose her over their brother. Not to mention Jalen's existence and the fact that Taylor was being incredibly selfish with Ace's assistance. Still, in this moment, their inner disdain for Jeremiah trumped any loyalty they have to the culture, and they willingly supported his abuser. They ultimately valued her right to have an experience, a right that I believe doesn't actually exist, and one that I also believe should have been forfeited by her actions, but they valued that over Jeremiah's right to a safe experience. Now, you can argue that that right also doesn't exist on a show like this, but let's pretend it does. The truth is, this environment was never safe for Jeremiah because he was hated from the moment Huda kissed him first. Ace vocalized his displeasure in being the second choice, and this hate was further encouraged by Jeremiah wisely curving Ulysses' kiss. What some see as strategy, I see as common sense. If Nick was standing there with the laundry at the beginning and curved Ulysses the way Jeremiah did, would y'all call that strategy? Or would y'all applaud him for knowing what he wants? It's not by force. You don't have to tongue everybody down. If you want to kiss people, the show will give you ample opportunity to do so. But if there are certain people you don't want to kiss for whatever reason, it's not by force. You can give them your cheek, you can peck them on the lips. They can't force you to put your tongue down somebody's throat. From that moment, I identified with Jeremiah because that's how I would have handled the situation. Then I noticed how he interacted with the boys and I related to him even more. As an Aquarius, I can be a bit of an outcast. Thing is, I read energy and I don't go where I'm not wanted. Nor do I have the desire to be there, so I'm perfectly fine with being the odd man out. And that rarely happens because I'm cool as shit. And I don't mean cool in the sense of someone to admire, but I mean cool like I can kick it with pretty much anybody who's genuine. I like interesting people, and I enjoy getting to know people who are genuinely interested in getting to know me. I know everybody ain't for everybody, and I'm cool with that. But some people aren't cool with you being cool with not being cool. Your confidence and the fact that you're unbothered by not being favored by them makes them uncomfortable. Now you think you're better than them when the truth is you don't even think about them. But now, in their mind, you're an enemy. The reason Jeremiah moved the way he moved is because he wasn't thinking about Ace. But since Ace was obsessed with him, in Ace's mind, that made him more of a threat. And that's where we get sidetracked. Have you ever found yourself becoming overly concerned with a person who wasn't doing shit to you? I haven't. And that's why I find that behavior weird. Every issue Ace could have with Jeremiah was hypothetical. If Ace wanted Huda, which he did at the beginning, they could have been rivals if Huda was game. However, Huda clearly chose Jeremiah to the point where other people like Taylor were saying that she's closed off. If Ace wanted Andreina, they could have been rivals. However, although she mentioned Ace as somebody that she wanted to get to know in her opening, once she got into the villa, she really only had time for Jeremiah and Nick. In reality, nothing Jeremiah actually did hurt Ace. Ace just perceived his existence as a threat because he was seeing what God did for Jeremiah and thought that there wouldn't be anything left for him. Whether we're talking about the attention of a woman or the potential to win the show being an OG couple, one of the pillars of Love Island historically is the participants' respect for connections. Everybody knows it's the bombshell's job to come in and try to break up couples. But for everybody else, there's always been a mutual respect for each other's connections. There have actually been times when Islanders have sent friends home for not being able to make connections. That has happened before. There's a reason the term "this isn't Friend Island" has died. Like I was saying, every problem Ace had with Jeremiah was hypothetical and didn't actually exist. Because in reality, both Huda and Andreina would just merely use Ace at most. Like, they weren't for him. But when you can become fixated on another person's blessings, then we have the recipe for Cain and Abel. Petty infighting among family, whether we're talking about literal family, cultural family, or any category of people that find themselves in similar circumstances, is usually born of jealousy. Somebody thinking that something somebody else has should be theirs. It's never productive, and the only people who truly benefit are outside of the family. A lot of you weren't angry enough at how Jeremiah was being treated because he didn't like who you wanted him to like. If Jeremiah was the scammer people thought he was at first, he would have came on here pretending to like Olandria and Shelly. He would have came on here and played the part in the name of black love, wasted somebody's experience, possibly won the show, and then dipped. But because he was honest about the type of woman he goes for, a lot of y'all said, well, he's not for us, so fuck him. You wrote him off and you were fine with his dumping. If we're to believe the voting, America is at least partially responsible for his dumping by having him in the bottom three. You didn't feel the need to support the brother in that vote after seeing how that woman was treating him. Or maybe it was the fact that so many people couldn't vote that night because the app was glitching. Conspiracy theories aside, we didn't do our part. But all that did was water the seed. The seed that was already planted by the public's general acceptance of Ace's weird obsessive behavior. Once people were okay with Ace, Huda, and Olandria pushing the narrative that Jeremiah is somehow a villain. Once Huda was safe and Jeremiah was vulnerable, validating that narrative. While some of y'all might have thought it was just fuck Jeremiah, what y'all were actually doing was establishing that it was okay for Huda to steamroll black folks. So the rest of the racist world said, cool. Huda can treat these Negroes any way she wants to, and if she cries, they're the bully. Shelly made this okay. Olandria made this okay. Taylor made this okay. And most of all, Ace made this okay with his obsessive behavior and his jealousy and envy of his brother's blessings. So yeah, the racism is nasty, but this is our plant. We can't say it's okay to mistreat this one and not that one. And until we get serious about protecting all innocent black people, the plant is just going to keep growing because everything we allow is water. If Jeremiah and Ace swapped places and it was Jeremiah whispering to Taylor about Ace being a love bomber, if Jeremiah was gossiping with Olandria in the kitchen about Ace and Shelly's relationship, if Jeremiah was being obviously jealous of Ace's instant connection with Andreina, everything that I'm saying about Ace, I would be saying about Jeremiah. Ace needs to be accountable for his jealousy. And a lot of y'all need to be accountable for your apathy before we can even deal with outside racists. All that being said, come do shots with me and my homie Sean Sunday night. We are the official Love Island USA finale after party to everybody who agrees. Drop the word whiskey, vodka, or tequila in the chat, and I'll buy whichever one you guys say because I don't keep liquor in my house. This does in fact mean that I'm a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. It's not something I indulge in much, so this live could get very interesting. I honestly hope I don't get canceled. See you Sunday night, 10 p.m. Central.
I came empty-handed, but I'm leaving with 3. Plus I made about a G, cause I made them tip me.